Hey guys, Diane here, and today I'm going to be giving you my top most favorite haunted house books. So hit that like and subscribe button and we'll get into it. Okay, so today I'm going to be giving you my top haunted house stories. It was so hard. I almost thought about putting them in like order, like least of favorite, but it would be just a disservice to put one of these as my least of anything. It's kind of like trying to tell someone, trying to pick out your favorite kid. You have one, but you don't want people to know you have one. I'm just kidding. But okay, so we're just going to go from there. So first we have Burnt Offerings by Robert Marasco. And this book is relatively old. It was in like 1950 or something like that. But I would say this is more of I wouldn't say gothic horror because it's not gothic horror at all. So I would say, I don't even know why I said that. But so this book is, like I said, it's from the 1950s. And this is about a family. They live in New York City in the summertime. This was actually something I read in the summer. I just didn't get around to making a review about it. But this is about a family. They live in New York City. In the summertime, it's really hot. It's crowded. There's just, it's New York City, so there's just people everywhere. So they're really wanting to get away. They're wanting to go to the countryside, and they're looking for a country house to go to for the summer. And she ends up finding this really amazing deal on like a beautiful house in the country, and they're going to get a really good deal on it. So they go out, they check it out, and the owners are a little strange. It's a little weird, but they're like, you know what, this is such a good deal. Let's just do it. So the story just goes from there. And I would say this is more of it's like a 1950s housewife with a twist. And this book was just so much fun. It was just so nostalgic. It was just perfect it was a really good summer read. It is a haunted house, so I figured, you know what, you can have those any time of year. But you almost didn't really realize it was a haunted house story just because it's very subtle. In some ways, I would kind of compare it to The Haunting of Hill House because they're very subtle. They're very atmospheric. This one is in the summer, so it's not, a fall or Halloween atmosphere, but it is very atmospheric with where it is. And it's almost a slow burn, but you just kind of have to be paying attention. So this was really fun, and it's different. It's not something that you're really going to come across very often. So that's Burnt Offerings by Robert Marasco. And then we have If You See Her by Anya Alborn. And Anya Alborn is my favorite. And I'm so glad that she has a haunted house story because this book was so good. I read this on the physical copy and it was just amazing. So this is about three friends, and there's a house in this town that's haunted, but they are, for whatever reason, they're all three drawn to it. For different reasons, they're all drawn to it. So it's kind of going through why they're drawn to it, and how it's affecting them in their personal life. And this was a really fun haunted house story. It was really atmospheric. It's really dark. It's really kind of sad, but with Anya Alborn, that's what you're gonna get, and it was really good. Okay, so next we have The Last House on Needless Street, and if you've seen any of my channels or any of my videos, you already know this is like my favorite book. I love this book so much. So this is a book about a man and his daughter and their cat. So you have three perspectives. You have his perspective, you have the daughter's perspective, and you have the cat's perspective. And they're all very different, and you're kind of seeing how each one of them is viewing their lives collectively. And this is such a good book. Oh my gosh, it's such a good book. There's so many twists and turns in this book. I didn't even know which way was up. This was just phenomenal. If out of all the books on here, honestly, this might be my favorite. This might be the one that I would say is probably my favorite. Okay, so next we have The Elementals by Michael McDowell, and this is a haunted house story about a family. They've recently lost the matriarch of the family, so they're all kind of trying to come back together as a family, kind of mourn, but also try to, kind of piece together the summer as they can. And they have three houses that the family owns, and it's out on the Alabama shores or the Gulf Coast of Alabama. And there's two houses that are inhabitable, but there's one that's kind of slowly sinking into the sand. So this is a story about them just kind of moving through their grief, but also being haunted by their family's past. So this is a really good book. It's really creepy. It's really ominous. For those of you that don't know, Michael McDowell did, the screenplay for Beetlejuice and The Nightmare Before Christmas. And that's really how that you can really see the you can really see that kind of reflected in this book. So that was a really good, I love the Elementals. It's such a good book. So I definitely recommend that. And then we have Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. And this book was really fun. This is probably, well, this is the first and only Riley Sager book I've read, but I really enjoyed it. And so this is about a girl, this is about a woman, and her father has just died, so she's going back to the family's old house to, you know, collect things and to get everything in order. But the house has a really dark history. You know, there was a murder there, and there was actually a book that was written about, you know, what happened. But she's also trying to piece together her memory of what happened, and they're not really jiving. So this is a really fun haunted house story. I've said before that Riley Sager's it's such an easy read. You just flow through it. And I don't mean easy as an insult. I mean it as, it's just very enjoyable to where you don't really have to, think too hard or too much about it. It's just enjoyable and a good haunted house story. Next, we have The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. And this is probably one of my favorites as well. This book was so good and just so unique. So this is about a kind of like an eclectic family, and they're all kind of ruled by this ominous figure called the Father. And it almost feels a little cultish, but it's almost... It does feel a little cultish. It's very strange. They're on the fringes of society, so not a whole lot makes sense to them. It's almost Addams Family-esque, but a super dark and depraved Addams Family. But so this book is really good. It could be categorized as a lot of different things. It could be a haunted house story. It could be a murder mystery. It could be just a lot of different things, because there's just so much in this book that is just strange and over the top. And like I said, this might be one of my favorites on here, because when I first read it, it took me a few tries. The first time I read it, I was like, I don't know, this doesn't make no sense to me. But then the second time I tried, I was like, okay, this is one of my favorite books of all time. So I definitely recommend that. And then last but not least, we have Kill Creek by Scott Thomas. And this was probably one of the first books I read when I was getting back into reading and when I really started the horror genre. So this is about a group of writers who are invited to stay a Halloween night, at a haunted house, kind of out off the beaten path, out of the middle of nowhere. So this is there's not a lot of the book that actually happens in the house, oddly enough, but it does feel haunted. It does feel very claustrophobic almost. And this is I really love this book. It's a really easy haunted house book, and it's really fun, especially for Halloween. It happens on Halloween night, and then it just kind of goes from there. So this was definitely one that I would recommend. I think it's on my Halloween recommendations as well. So you might hear about this book a few times. But so that's all the haunted house stories I have, or all the haunted house books I have for you today. So let me know if you have any recommendations. Let me know if you have read any of these and how you feel about them. So hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.